Yeah, maybe. And you mentioned the average age and the away supporters block. So projecting this 30 years into the future, they all should have been in their 80s, right? And you cannot
We're still
expect
climbing
from
up those stairs like in
you.
our stadium.
We need escalators.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
to get back up. So you can't expect from octogenarians to support 90 minutes, right? Extremely efficient. e- eff- What's up
Efficient.
now? Efficient.
Yeah.
Gosh, thank you. And
It's Friday
extremely
night.
efficient. Yeah, Friday night, no concert. We have this one listener from Taucher, and I'm sure it is in this Marco, and he is with his notebook. And okay, Marco, listen.
But we're a bit late today. I'm so sorry. I hope you can recover from that. And welcome to RBLE Global Tracks, Leipzig's fresh RB Leipzig podcast in English, brought to you by Richard and Mario. And amongst us, we are season ticket holders, passionate supporters, and not very neutral local pundits. Both of us have been following Leipzig football since our childhood days, so if you want to hear about RB Leipzig, capture the mood of the fans in the city, and if you want to go beyond numbers and statistics, you are in the right place. We're delighted to welcome you on board. Let's go. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs. Good evening, Richard. We're a day late, but that's fine. It's the second episode for the week. How are you today, Richard?
Hey Mario, thank you. My gosh, it's Friday already. This week was gone like there was nothing. So a little bit, something like bored, because no concert today, no concert next next 2 or 3 days. So
in
I
German,
got
we say eine Runde Mitleid.
yeah, I deserve this. We visited 3 concerts in 7 days. So yeah, that's something I could get used to. But unfortunately, I will have to wait maybe until September. So life is hard.
I know, it's really tough. So, speaking of tough, what are our tough topics for tonight?
Yeah, of course. We're going to take a look back to this outstanding performance of our lads. Unfortunately, in the end, not enough to advance to the quarterfinals in Madrid. And we will take a look at tomorrow's game or today's game. Depends on when you listen to this. Versus Darmstadt 98. The Red Lantern Club in Germany.
Well, we've done this before. We played the team which was in last place, and I think that was a hard nut to crack. But anyway, so let's start with Wednesday's highlight, our championship match in the round of last of the 16 versus Real Madrid at Madrid. And I remember in our last episode, we were not optimistic at all. I think I was going for a 4-1 defeat. You were going for a 3-1 defeat. And I must admit, we're damn proud of the performance. I'm really surprised how well the team performed. Unfortunately, not with the right result, but they got a draw in Madrid, and it should have been more. It should have been a lot more, to be honest. But we all know that a couple of 50-50 decisions went against us. We don't need to discuss this again, or maybe a little bit later. But my key takeaway from this is, I said we're nowhere near the elite and the top shelf of European football. We're nowhere near the elite of German football. And Wednesday, it looked as if we are damn close, really close. We had them on the ropes. Bloody hell. I didn't expect that. But at the end of the day, one goal was missing. And it kind of reminded me of our Cup final, DFB Pokal in 2022. Remember, we were there, and you jumped so high, by the way. We were there, and a lot of these 50-50 decisions went against us. And the most obvious one was the handball before the, I don't know who the player was, a Freiburg stroke, got the go-ahead goal. It should have been disallowed. We thought it should have been disallowed. And also there was a possible penalty just before the end of regular time when I think Olmo was fouled that could have given us the 2-1 win if we had converted potential penalty. But in that game, remember how Nkunku forced that ball in for the equalizer, and we were down with to 10 men after Halzenberg got sent off, but he had to make that stop. He had to commit that foul. And this was at the time that was sort of the next step that we're taking in our progression. Huge difference is we had a team which had been playing together like this for 1 or 2 years, or 2 years at least. So in that summer in 2021, we didn't have that big transition that we saw this year or last summer, and also in the winter. Hello, Emil. Hello, Timo. And maybe that was missing. So there is still a final piece missing. We can be proud of the performance, yes, but it all goes back to the question we asked last time. What about hungry for more? What kind of club do we want to be? Do we want to be in that elite? Can we be in that elite? Or is it something we're not going to quite reach? We'll maybe getting very close, but we're not going to be able to reach. But Richard, before you share your thoughts, I like to share some impressions people shared with me who came back from Madrid. People who went away from Leipzig to support the team there. I think the number was 4,250. Somebody on Twitter pointed out that's 250 more than Union Berlin. For the first time, I think we beat them with fans who went to an away game. And the gentleman, I found him very extraordinary when he said that. He's a gentleman who's older than 50, and he said the average age of people in that block was above 50, because it was quite costly. It was quite a lot of money that people had to pay in order to go there. He himself, he went on the charter flight. They had 4 charter flights from Leipzig going out to Madrid, and he had to shell out more than 518 euros, and that's not something you just spend on the fly normally. But what he said was, if somebody had told him 35 years ago, when he still lived in Leipzig during East German time, so when it was still the German Democratic Republic, somebody had told him, hey, in 35 years, there's going to be a football team in Leipzig who's going to travel to Madrid. You're going to be there as well. And you're not going to get beaten. You're going to play Real Madrid and you're going to get a draw. He said, he would have never believed that. He would have called these people crazy. So I thought this is really interesting. And I'd just like to point out, one of these days, we will give you some bonus episodes and shedding more light on the East German times and the history over here. And that will explain a little bit more how this artificial club, RB Leipzig, could actually install itself quite successfully over here. But I thought that was really interesting. And I talked to somebody else who did come back despite all the strikes. It was a long detour they had to take, but they did make it back to Leipzig safely. But he also pointed out that the atmosphere was quite strange. And I told him via TV, you could hear the away fans very clearly, and said, well, there was only a little section behind one of the goals with the white shirts and the flags, and I think you could see this quite clearly on TV. This was the only section which made some sort of noise. So it's a different sort of atmosphere over there, but maybe we're going to be like that in 30 years' time with 10 championship titles under our belt, Richard, or are we not?
Yeah, maybe. And you mentioned the average age in the away supporters block. So projecting this 30 years into the future, they all should have been in their 80s, right? And
we're still climbing up those stairs, like in our stadium.
we need escalators. To get back up. So you can't expect from octogenarians to support 90 minutes, right?
No.
But it's interesting that you mentioned the cost, the amount of funds you needed to pay to get there with the charter flight. So today, one of my colleagues was back in the office, and I talked to him and pleased him to tell me how this journey was, and he flew with Iberia, so from Hamburg, and it was clearly much cheaper than the charter flight. And then I asked him how he was how his hotel was in Madrid, and he looked, okay, are you nuts? I didn't stay in a hotel. We had some
Really?
apartment. He had some apartment via Airbnb, and
Okay.
then all of his fellows were in there. So I didn't ask any further, but I
Better not. You don't want to know.
but his face kind of like told me that there were like places for 4 people, and they stayed at like 8 or something like that. So
Okay.
yeah, you can. There are ways that you can afford it, and you don't have to pay like more than 500 euros. Maybe he paid like 250 or 300 at best to make this trip, but this is still not less money.
I agree. I agree. So, what do you think about Wednesday's performance and the fact that we were so bloody close?
And we were so dang close. And I like your take from the Freiburg Cup final 2022, where we struggled and then were able to turn things around. But my take is, if it wasn't Freiburg who was our opponent in this final, but Real Madrid, we wouldn't have won this game because we are obviously not eligible to beat Real Madrid on European stage. Listen, UEFA. Okay, so I know
Conspiracy.
the UCL is their premium product. So, and you want to sell this uh, worldwide. And how do you tell those fans in the Asia Pacific market, and even in the US? Okay, so maybe the biggest club, one of the biggest clubs, football clubs in the world, is out in the round of 16 versus some like artificial club from former Eastern Germany. This is something that sells very bad. I do understand that, but hey, please. Um, I refer to these obviously to 3 scenes that was taken place in those 2 games. So the first leg, we had this disallowed goal. Yeah, we talked about
Mhm.
that, and there was this very rude at foul, this rude tackling from Carvajal versus Xavi, where, in my opinion, in my eyes, Carvajal should have sent off for this. He didn't even get booked. And yeah, after 55 minutes or something, there was in the game on Wednesday, we all saw that there was a how do you? I looked this up. It is violent conduct. It was a violent conduct. In German, it's Tätlichkeit. What a wonderful German word.
Some call it assault. No, that's too tough.
Yeah,
But you never know.
but
It did
in
look
in
violent.
football terms, it was like unnecessary roughness. So okay,
Exactly. It was
um,
unnecessary and
and and
rough.
and rough and yeah, all over the place. And is this if this is a clear red card, there's
I
no
agree. I
no
agree.
question about that. And then it was like in a bad movie, um, of all players. He was
Yeah,
the one
I
that
know.
scored the go-ahead goal. Yeah, of course. And so imagine if we were Bayern, or if we were like Man City,
Mm,
and imagine Vinny would have done this to like Upamecano or De Ligt or
mm,
Rodri.
mm.
Nah, there would have been the VAR, no doubt, no
I
doubt.
agree.
So, and that's kind of like a little salt in the wound when I
It leaves a
think.
sour taste,
Yeah,
doesn't it? I
yeah,
mean, on one hand, we're really proud.
yeah.
On the other hand, in Germany, they dafür kannst du nichts kaufen. Well, we didn't proceed. We didn't progress. I mean, we didn't progress into the next round, and we'll miss out on all the glory. And at the end of the day, when Real is in the final and maybe versus City, nobody's going to talk about it. Nobody's going to remember it. So, Richard, what does that mean? Are we always going to continue like that and just hit that invisible wall of the elite of European football and we bounce back? Is there an alternative? Should we maybe look at a different competition and win that one first to gain some good reputation so we're eligible at some point?
I think we need to take step by step. We have to climb up the ladder. So obviously, it's not okay for RBL to beat Real Madrid in the knockout stage. So we have to look that if we get the chance next season, and it doesn't matter if it's the Champions League or if it's the Europa League, to beat a club like to beat like maybe Milan or Inter,
Mhm.
or let's say Tottenham. in the knockout stage. So, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we already beat Tottenham in knockout
Yeah,
stage,
but somebody like Arsenal, for
2019.
example, would
Yeah,
be,
right. So
no offense to Tottenham, but
and do this
yeah,
once or twice, like in the next 4 or 5 years, and then we will maybe be in this elite club, in this top European shelf, like you said it, and
mm,
be finally eligible to advance to the semi-final or maybe even further. You know, we played one semi-final, but I like to discount this a bit because it was this one leg tournament in 2020 where the COVID-19 pandemic and so, and yeah, we beat Atletico in that game, but we advanced and don't forget. So as far as I remember, we advanced to the
semi,
quarterfinal. Yes, semifinal. So yeah, we beat Tottenham and then we advanced in the semifinal by beating Atletico in one game.
yeah, in one game,
In one
Mr.
game, and so
Tyler,
and
great
this,
strike.
and so I like to discount this a bit.
Yeah, because then we lost to PSG, and that was really clear. I think it was a 3-0. We had
Yeah,
no chance
poor
whatsoever.
performance at all. Yeah.
Well, something we need to watch. I'm still undecided how I want to feel about that. In one way, yes, proud. There is a lot of pride, but on the other hand, well, it leaves a sour taste. And
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, one last thought to this. Maybe we can wrap this up with this famous words from one of the best coaches right now of our time, Mr.
I,
Jurgen Klopp, who once said, "It is not a wish concert." Ah, I love this so much.
and
Could you
he's
please
right.
enlighten our English listeners?
Because life is not a ponyhof. I'm not going to translate that either. Okay, let's wrap this up. But well done to the boys. We're really proud. And there's one more take from my side. I'm just kind of sad that we're not going to see this team like this next year, because it's very likely to be another rebuild, another transition again. And I would have loved to see Olmo and Xavi and Openda and Chesko, all of them together, including Yusuf as well, for much longer, but or for at least another year. But doesn't seem likely. Okay, let's move on, because on Saturday we're gonna have Darmstadt 98. So please enlighten us.
Introducing our next opponent, their ignorant check.
Yeah, I already teased it. Darmstadt 98. It's 18th place out of 18 clubs. And, you know, I had this take when we talked about them in our away game. And I said, hey, we have to keep an eye on them. This is a team I expected that would have nothing to do with relegation, and that take didn't age well. Um, but if I look back, and I remember that, so they lost their very 3 matches in the Bundesliga, and I thought, okay, so they have kind of like got some problems to get used to the Bundesliga level and have to find their ways. And then they bottled this 3-0 lead versus Gladbach. They had a 3-0 halftime lead, then received this red card and finally bottled it, making it a 3-all draw in the end. Then they lost to Stuttgart. Okay, this can happen. Yeah, even more if you look back and look how Stuttgart performed this season. And then they won 2 in a row. They had this win versus Bremen at home, and then they won at Augsburg. And I really thought
Mm-hmm.
that they would have nothing to do with relegation, and they would have find winning ways. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's and that's because that was the reason, because I warned and I thought, okay, this they had strong individual players, and obviously now they are okay with the competition at Bundesliga level, but since then they are winless. Okay, they won.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they won at Augsburg, and then we played at Darmstadt. And to be honest, it was a very poor performance, in my opinion. One of our worst games, if not the worst game of the season. We had
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, 300 something like passes. Usually we got way more than 500,
Yeah.
and a pass percentage of like a high 60%. This is beyond our standard. So, and we managed to come up with a win anyway. But as far as I remember, this could have even ended the other way around. And so, yeah, we were a little bit lucky. And something happened after that with the Darmstadt team. You know, they are winless. I told you already, and lost 9 and had 6 draws on top of that. And but we have to be a little bit aware, nevertheless, because they are somehow underperforming in terms of expected points. I looked it up at understat.com, great site, great website. So they should have 7 points more than they actually gathered. So they still would be at the end of the table, but with 20 points instead of 13. And yeah, this is still an opponent. This is still a Bundesliga club, and they got nothing to lose anymore. They can't sink any deeper like they are now. If you think back to the last Bundesliga weekend where they lost 0-6 at home versus Augsburg, and it was 0-5 after 25 minutes or something. Anything that could have went wrong went wrong. It was like Murphy's Law. Your bad passes, bad individual efforts, and a extremely efficient. What's up now? Efficient. Gosh, thank you.
It's Friday night.
Efficient. Yeah, Friday night. No concert. Efficient Augsburg offense. So, and yeah, they still got players to watch. They still mentioned in the first leg, and this is basically the still players. They got keep an eye on Tobias Kempe. Great player, even especially more with dead balls. Fabian Holland, and of course Tim Skarke. Tim Skarke had this equalizer on his foot after 3 minutes in the last game versus Augsburg, and maybe this thing develops whole in another direction if he scores there. But he misses his chance, and then the counter attack rolls versus Darmstadt, and Augsburg converts at the end, and it's 2-0.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, I know, but it seems like they really had a really bad day in the office, and we know about bad days in the office as well. I mean, this year was Stuttgart, last year was Frankfurt, and hopefully we won't add to that. So we do need to be cautious and take this extremely seriously. But you predicted there's going to be a 4 games winning streak. This is game 2. So I'm quite optimistic. Who's he going to send out, Mr. Rose, if you're done with all the players to watch?
Fußballfans. Wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
Yeah, me too. So I'm still very confident because we are individual and as a team clearly better. And this is a must-win game, of course. So, Coach Rose, please. We have this one listener from Taucher, and I'm sure it's in this Marco, and he is with his notebook. And okay, Marco, listen.
But we're a bit late today. I'm so sorry. I hope you can recover from that.
Okay, so I think we will see a rotation galore. Okay, come on, Gulashi will stay between the posts, but this 4-man defense is Shimakan instead of Henrichs. On the outside, then Orban, Lukeba, and Lenz. I think Raum, he doesn't seem to need a break, but if there's a game where I can give him a break, it's this. So please, Lenz from the very beginning. Then our defensive midfield, Schlager and Haidara. After this game on Wednesday night, we talked about a little bit defensive midfield and how it will and how the players will or who will play in defensive midfield on Saturday. And I thought on Wednesday night, Rose should keep this together. But as time went by in the last 2 days, I thought, no, we will see even more rotation here. So defensive midfield, Kampel and Seiwald.
Okay.
Offensive midfield, Xavi, we cannot leave him out. Sorry.
Not from the start.
No.
Yeah.
But then, and now, I'm pretty sure I'm right this time. Mr. Elif Elmas from the very beginning instead of Dani Olmo. I think Dani Olmo was really, really exhausted at the end of the game in Madrid. And I think he should get a break. And instead of Šeško and Goalpender, we will see Baumgartner and Paulsen.
That's interesting.
Our strikers.
Okay. Very interesting. We'll find out tomorrow. Both of us are going to be in the stadium as well. So, in terms of scoreline, what's your prediction?
3-0.
4-1 on my side. So that's great. And let's see how it all pans out. Well, thank you very much for this episode. Thanks very much for your time, Richard. And just a note on the side, Emil Forsberg is going to have his home opener in New York this weekend. So let's keep our fingers crossed for him. And thank you to everyone who's been listening to us. We really appreciate it. Do leave us a note on your favorite platform. Or it would be even greater if you could subscribe to our little podcast. And you can also contact us via email on talktous at rbleglobaltracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter. Our username is podcast_RBL. This has been Richard and Mario from RBLE Global Tracks, talking to you straight from the heart of Leipzig. And all we need to say now is, Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs!